Good morning, everyone. We Group 5 chose Uber. We chose to analyze the marketing strategy of Uber. Next slide, below. Yeah. So I would just very briefly go through the ride-sharing market, some points on ride-sharing market, and a little bit about Uber as a company. So as you can see in the graph as well, you can see a dip in the revenues. The projected dip in the which is being projected for the ride sharing market. The next slide. So some of the factors that drove the high growth that we saw in the ride sharing market were there was a need for personal mobility. There was high internet and smartphone penetration. There was an awareness about alarming rise and damage of the greenhouse gases, and there was a need among the riders to want to have a lower travel cost. So in this particular ride-sharing market, Uber is one of the key players. Next slide. A little bit about Uber. Uber is based out of San Francisco, and it is spread. It's actually operational in 900 cities. It has 100 million worldwide users. A little bit about the company is the founders are Travis Kalanick and Garrett Gump. An interesting bit about this is when the company started, the founders had actually put in a tweet on the Twitter that they were looking for a CEO for the company. And Ryan Gaves responded to it, and he was the first CEO. Currently, the CEO is Dara Khosrowshahi, and Uber entered Indian market in 2013. It offers a lot of in-demand services like Uber Ride, Uber Eat, Uber Freight, and Uber Elevate. Next slide. So we chose SWOT analysis because we wanted to understand, because in the current situation of COVID-19, there is guideline for social distancing and hygiene. So we found SWOT to be more apt because we wanted to understand what are the internal and external factors to understand how the company will be placed going forward. Next slide. So I'll be covering the strength as well. So before I actually cover the strength, I would like, just indulge me a little bit in going through a verbal imagery that I'm trying to create for you guys. Suppose Uber is a car company which is operating in few cities. So you would picture that, okay, it's a company, it's not so big. Now, if you suppose that Uber is absorbing the taxi market in all of those cities, then you would actually start picturing that Uber is a very large entity. Now, if you add if you don't narrow it down just to people transportation, but actually make it all about delivering people and items, you would actually start thinking that it's, the entity in itself is actually growing quite a bit. Now, if you put all these capacities of Uber onto the world map, you can actually start thinking that, it can be a world largest company. So that is exactly what Uber has been striving for. It wants to be a world global market player. I read this bit, one interesting bit. I'm not sure, how true it is, but apparently the word Uber was not there in the dictionary. It came only after it came into the dictionary only after the company Uber. But I'm not very sure how true that is. So going over the strength part. So the first one, the brand equity. It is operating in 900 cities in 93 countries. It is a brand. It's a global brand. Due to the growth potential, due to the high growth potential that Uber actually could arrive at, it has also attracted a lot of investors. The first round of funding was just $11 million, and currently they have been able to raise round about 24.2 billion over 22 funding rounds. The second strength of Uber is customer base and innovation. So Uber is a disruptive company. It disrupted the taxi ecosystem. It actually provided a platform for both the drivers and riders and connected them. And the idea was not just to provide a platform, it also added value to both the riders and the drivers. So for the riders, it actually provided a seamless taxi cab experience. So a rider could just hail a better car because it provided a lot of cab differentiation. Uh, you could pay a lower fare, you could share your location, you could rate the driver, and all of this was happening within the app. What the current CEO also says: tap a button and get a ride. At the same time, for the drivers, it provided a profitable revenue model. It also provided dynamic pricing strategy, like the surge pricing strategy. It also invested a lot in innovative marketing strategies. It targeted the early tech adopters. It provided a lot of discounts. It provided referrals, brand partnership, hyper localization. So it also captured the need of the market based on the geographical location, and in such a way, it actually created a huge customer base, and also retained it. The third strength is flexible and adaptive. Now, due to the COVID-19 situation, there is a need for there's a need to maintain social distancing and hygiene. So yes, it has impacted the ride-sharing market, but Uber, because of their vision, early on from 2017, they have been diversifying their in-demand services. So due to the current situation, they started focusing and investing more on the other in-demand services like the freight service, logistics, and hourly rentals. The fourth strength is the commitment of Uber to safety. Now, in the current situation, they have implemented a lot of safety measures like mandatory masks, face cover verification. The rides can be cancelled if either the driver or the driver or the rider is not comfortable. They have also educated drivers. They have created awareness through advertisements. And I just want to add that before pandemic, also they were quite they were particular about the safety, because there was a lot of violent cases that were getting reported, and they added the tracking feature and emergency assistance button in their app. Now, moving to the next weakness, my colleague Tilova will be covering. Am I audible? Hi, am I audible? Yeah, please continue. Okay. Considering the weakness, though there are very few points for the weakness, but the basic thing is like it's a very highly dependent on manpower. So that's one considered as one of the biggest weakness of Uber, where definitely an unethical drivers can pose a threat to brands' identity, as well as the employment of Uber. The Uber employs contractual workers, so they are so that's why there is certain kind of a distress among the workers, among the drivers with the company, because they are not liable for any sort of, they do not get any kind of health and insurance benefits. And since Uber follows a cross-site network style, so it also possesses a weakness for the Uber for in the current situation, because the driver tends to because of the current situation, the drivers tends to stop working and there are less rides and all, and there will be, the main USP of Uber was like less waiting time, which, so without the less of drivers, there will be fewer rides and will be a longer waiting time, which can create a higher impact. And the second weakness is like internet. It's a highly dependent on a smartphone and technology, smartphone and internet. So definitely it binds its target market with people or places or countries which is very few, but there are still places where there are people who are not very internet or smartphone savvy. And the last thing is like it's all-time controversies. They had controversies with the earlier CEO also for a mismanagement, as well as there are continuous legal issues out there, and a poor work ethics, which internal employees has
expressed through various newspapers and or FT Times, Financial Times, and all. It shows that there are a lot of work ethics problem there. And in recent time, in spite of having not a bad business, in spite of diversifying the portfolio, they have laid almost like in India only like 600 employees. Mumbai office was closed down, so definitely it act as a weakness point for Uber. Over to Kavita for the opportunity.
Hi everyone. I'll talk you through the opportunity section of the Uber. So, one second. Yeah. So one of the major opportunity that Uber currently see is the logistics segment. So it is partnering with the e-commerce. Like for instance, in the current scenario of pandemic, it has partnered with Flipkart, Big Basket, and Spencer's, which is actually currently dealing with shortage to deliver essential goods. So Uber has taken this opportunity and have partnered with them. And it's also in advanced talk with Amazon to go ahead and acquire the market in a much more better way. Other than that, it's also focusing on the special consumer segment. In India, Uber is offering services for the healthcare professionals. So it has launched Uber Medics for healthcare professionals. Other than that, it's also partnering with Practo. Uh, like it's a global partnership to bridge the gap between the patients and the doctors. Dilova, can you move on to the next slide? Yeah. So the other segment is the special transport sector. Uh, Here, what Uber currently in the light of pandemic, what they're doing is they are providing special transports. Like it's an opportunity that we see that Uber can do in the coming times is that they can provide paid ambulance and emergency vehicles for transportation. It has an upper hand here because Uber has a um, upper hand in the cab market because usually the local cab drivers are considered to be impolite and they do not comply with the safety measures. So considering the light of pandemic, they always have an upper hand because they always follow the protocols and the safety measures. It's given high importance. And other than that, the alternate transport, Uber has launched Uber Chopper in various countries, and they are also looking forward for other transport medium to cater to the local needs. In India, a suggestion that we thought is Uber can launch a bus aggregator system. And then the other point is self-driven transport solutions. Uber Advanced Technologies Group, Uber ATG, was launched in 2015 to bridge a safe and reliable self-driving experience to everyone. So in the coming future, it is believed that self-driven cars will make roads safer and travel more affordable. So they're also working in this in partnership with Volvo and Toyota. So these are the opportunities that we have covered for Uber. So now my teammate Roma will speak about the threats.
Hi, so I'll quickly go through threats and conclude. So, the COVID 19 situation has been problematic for almost all the companies operating on, in such a sector such as Uber is operating in. Even though Uber has come up with many contingency plans for their finances, it's still a major uncertainty as to how the situation is going to handle in the future and how their primary market is going to come back. People are going to take share cabs or they're going to go for rented cabs. So there's still a certain level of question over there. So it's a threat in the future. Next is increased competition. Uber is not just facing competition from similar apps such as Ola or Lyft. It is also facing competition with many self-driving apps and also rented cars like their Zoom car, Rev, and even two-wheelers like Bounce or Vogo, because in the end, it's all about transporting people from one location to another, and there are many options coming up for that. So Uber is facing a lot of increased competition. And the last one is legal issues. So Uber has many pending lawsuits, not just in the US court, but also courts all around their operating countries. And these legal issues are not yet solved. And some issues have seen like the media light, but there are still many issues underlying. So unless they're resolved, they can pose a major threat for their brand image. And also there's this trust that is very important. So that will be problematic for them. Now for the COVID-19 threat, they have come up with campaigns. So they have next slide, please. Yeah. So they have like we had videos, but like you can see. So they had Uber had partnered with airports to sanitize every car before every trip. They had installed safety screens to ensure that people are adhering to the norms, and they had also aware the users about how to go through about using the cab system and everything. So now I'll be concluding. So Uber is a very dynamic company. It has always come up with innovative measures to change the market and go around with market whatever innovations the market is coming up with. So far Uber has yes, it has reduced workforce. It has tried to cut costs in many countries, in many operations as well. But it has tried to maintain a work hub, like the drivers they are in contract with, they have tried to maintain a work hub so that they can give them work in not just one sector, maybe in other sectors like Uber Medic, last mile delivery, Uber Essentials, Uber Connect, so that they have